This is a podcast by The Straits Times.
Hello and welcome to Pop Vouchers, a pop culture podcast by The Straits Times. My name is Jen Lee, and as always, I'm joined by Yosem Joe.
I couldn't help but blowing raspberries right there, Jen. You get it? Get it?
Yes, I get it. It's very in line with what we're talking about today, which are the Razzies.
Woohoo! The Golden Raspberry Awards, okay? It is, it's award season, right? It's in full swing. We just had the Golden Globes, had the Screen Actors Guild Awards, and the Oscars are also coming up. But today we want to focus on a less talked about award show.
The NT-Oscars.
Yeah, so-called the NT-Oscars. The ugly stepsister of the Oscars.
The very ugly stepsister.
Now, it started as a show honoring the worst in cinema. It's a parody of the Academy Awards, of course. And winners receive this golf ball-sized raspberry on a Super 8mm film reel, spray-painted with gold. And they value it at, get this, $4.97.
USD. So it's a bit more expensive.
I could buy you a meal, maybe.
Yes. Can't eat McDonald's.
Yeah, and the raspberry, of course, refers to the irreverence of blowing a raspberry, which is the sound that I just made, right? Like, sounds like you're having a fart, and a very good one at that. So it's the 40th anniversary this year. Can you imagine of the Razzies?
Yeah, I mean, it's been so long. I did not realize, I always thought like it was, I don't know, I just didn't realize that it's been 40 years, I guess.
40 years of celebrating the worst.
Yeah, just the worst actresses and actors, worst movies.
Yeah, it's going to happen on April 24th this year, just before the Oscars on April 26th.
They tend to just take place right, like 1 or 2 days before. They love doing that, yeah.
It's a Razzie tradition,
Yes.
so that they can get like all the publicity they can get, because after the Oscars, who cares, right?
Who cares, right? Yeah. So today we'll talk about, the brief history of the Razzies, and then we'll go into like the famous alumni who've won a Razzie, and like celebs who've actually gone to the ceremony to accept their award, right? There's actually quite a few A-listers who've been in person to accept their Razzie in person.
Yeah, I've been very sporting.
Yeah, and then we'll go into the nominees. This year is pretty notable this year. And then we'll just go into our own thoughts, Are the Razzies still relevant? Why do they matter? And who we personally would want to give a Razzie to if we could.
Yes. Okay, we can't wait to get there.
So, Samjo, do you want to tell us a little bit more about the history?
Sure. We have to go all the way back to 1981, all right, when UCLA film graduate and, film industry veteran now, John J.B. Wilson and his friend Mo Murphy, all right? Wilson apparently had one of his potluck parties on Oscar night. They have all those viewing parties, right, in LA. And he held a very impromptu random award ceremony in his living room after that. He asked all the attendees, there were about, 3 dozen of them, to vote on the worst films off that season. And it was a complete makeshift affair. Imagine the podium was like made out of cardboard, and the microphone was basically a broomstick.
Sounds like a fun party, lah.
Yeah, essentially. It sounds like something we would do, when we are kids and everything. I remember my cousins and I would pretend to be newscasters back in the day as well. So yeah, that was how it started, and the first worst picture / worst screenplay went to a musical comedy which Wilson himself had just watched, Can't Stop the Music. This is a pseudo-biography of the village people, and it was a box office flop.
Yeah, I don't remember this movie.
Yeah, I think
never heard about it.
It was before we were all born, but it has the dubious honor of being awarded the first worst picture ever. And the first worst director was Robert Greenwald, because he directed Xanadu. Xanadu is, of course, that Olivia Newton-John classic. It's a musical. It eventually became a stage musical on Broadway and everything. And the music is really good. I personally love Xanadu. But I guess for many reasons...
It was awarded the worst director.
Yeah, for many reasons it got a Razzie. And then, things just picked up momentum. Local press started paying attention and actually covered it. And attendance the next year doubled. And then
wow.
The third year doubled again.
Wow. Okay, so it like quadrupled.
I'm a math.
I think so.
My math is not good, but one of those things, quadruple, triple, like one of those. And then eventually, during the fourth ceremony, CNN and some wire services decided to cover it And the rest, as they say, is history lah. Because, hey, once you get mainstream media covering it, it's kind of like almost legitimizing it, right?
Yeah, but it's like kind of, as you say, the ugly stepsister, right? It's like deliberately low end, deliberately really tacky, and deliberately is like it's the tacky Oscars, basically. It's like who sucks the most.
Yeah. And it's so funny because Wilson actually has 1,000 over members of this Golden Raspberry Foundation to vote on the films they don't like. So it's kind of like how the Oscars decides on the winners as well, but they
have a big
panel.
big group of people.
Yeah, but Wilson has insisted that the Razzies don't come from a place of hatred, even though it's been dubbed the anti-Oscars. I know you have feelings about this, but he personally feels that the Oscars just takes itself too seriously.
That is true, though.
Yeah,
that is true. And of course, a lot of Hollywood A-listers have not been spared the dubious honor of being nominated/awarded a Razzie, right, Sam Joe?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about big names in Tinseltown like Sylvester Stallone. He has 20 nominations. I think he leads the pack currently.
Yes.
And he has won for movies like even some of the Rambo and Rocky movies. Can you imagine?
Okay, but to be honest, there are a lot of Rocky and Rambo movies.
Too many. So, yeah, I mean, he's definitely got an Oscar for those before, but one of them is bound to get a Razzie lah. I think especially when you're an action star, when sometimes the attention is paid on, more of your movement rather than your actual acting, right? He also won for films like Rhinestone and Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Madonna is the other one. In the day when she did a lot of acting.
Yeah, like she at one point did try to be a film star. Actually, a lot of pop stars have tried to become film stars.
Recently, Lady Gaga, definitely.
Yeah.
See her appearing in more and more movies.
Mariah Carey, Glitter,
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. That is another Razzie alum.
Okay, shit. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, but Madonna has won for many things like Shanghai Surprise, Who's That Girl, Body of Evidence, Swept Away.
Tied with Britney Spears in Crossroads.
Yes, that was the year. Both of them, Britney and Madonna. And then they came out with a hit song together. So, hey, who's laughing now?
Really? And they kissed at MTV Awards.
Yeah.
Not sure if anybody remembers that.
I remember.
Is it MTV or VMAs?
It was a VMAs. MTV VMAs, basically.
Okay.
That was hot.
That was pretty hot. That was great. That was a great Britney Spears performance. And some sporting celebs who have actually turned up in person to accept their awards include the really dubious Bill Cosby, who is now in jail because he's been outed as a sexual predator. So I think he won for, Leonard Part 6. What is this movie?
I also haven't seen it. I mean, this was back in 1987. So in 1988, he was awarded the Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Worst Screenplay for this.
Wow.
He got 3 awards.
Wow.
And he was actually the first to accept, an actual Golden Raspberry trophy on Fox's The Late Show.
Oh.
Yeah, that started somewhat of a trend because, a few years later, 1996, Paul Verhoeven, he's this Dutch guy, he won for the Worst Director and Worst Picture for Showgirls.
Okay.
Which is a very illustrious Razzie alum, apparently. Showgirls has a lot of awards.
And then
Ben Affleck's another one.
Ben Affleck, I remember this.
He acted in a lot of films, especially in the noughties, and in 2004 he was nominated for Worst Actor in 3 films. Not 1, not 2, but 3. He did Daredevil, Paycheck, and the Jennifer Lopez classic, Geely.
Yes, Bennifer.
That's how the whole Bennifer thing
Guys,
started.
seriously, go and watch Jennifer Lopez's Jenny on the Block, and Ben Affleck is in it kissing her butt. Like, it's a classic.
Woo! That was also hot.
Questionable.
many hot moments. But I think one of the most iconic celebrities who actually accepted the award in person at the ceremony was Halle Berry.
Was it the year she also won for Monsters Ball?
No, this was a few years after she won for Monsters Ball. She won the Oscar and she went on stage. She was like, oh my God.
She was like, she was the first black woman ever, I think, to win the Best Actress for Oscar.
Yeah, so that was a very iconic moment and, and rightfully so, she was emotional on stage. And so get this, in 2005, when she picked up the Worst Actress Razzie for Catwoman, I'm laughing because I watched the movie and I remember her trying to behave like a cat.
Yeah. And also that role is very hard to follow after Michelle Pfeiffer. So
True, it's true. Michelle Pfeiffer really hit it,
out of the park, as they
out
say.
of the park. Yeah.
Then there's also Sandra Bullock, who won, I think, the same year she won the Oscar.
Yes, that was the
Yes.
year she won the Academy Award for The Blind Side.
The Blind Side, yes, which is a movie that I did watch. I quite liked it.
I loved it.
She won the worst actress, the Razzie, basically, for All About Steve.
Yeah.
And then I think she really went to collect it right before she went to the Oscars, like a few days before the Oscars happened. There are also songs who have not been spared the Razzie, and one of them I really do not understand is Aerosmith's I Don't Want to Miss a Thing for 1998 film Armageddon.
I don't want to close
My eyes, I don't want to fall asleep because I miss you, babe, and I don't want to miss a thing. Guys, why is this song bad?
Dream!
Okay,
Maybe that was why, because he's...
me then, because he screamed.
It's such a classic song. And
It is. It's a classic song. Why is it bad? I mean, why is it bad?
I think I know why. Because it probably got to the point where it was like so overexposed, that song.
Yeah.
It received so much airplay
Yes.
in light of the Armageddon movie. And
It's like Despacito. You just end up hating it.
right. And then there was the added publicity, because like what's his name? Steve Tyler from Aerosmith was Liv Tyler's
Dad.
father, and Liv Tyler was in the Armageddon movie. So
Yeah.
they kind of appear in the same video and everything. I think they probably caught on to the fact that some people found it too cheesy. Like even now when you sing it in karaoke, don't get me, it's a classic. And
It's a classic.
And I love to sing it, as you can tell, Jen and
Yes.
I think
I mean, look, cheesy songs are great to sing in the karaoke, man. Like, what are we talking about? Why else would we sing Touch My Body in the karaoke? Because it's cheesy and we love it.
Yes, exactly. Why else would we sing I'm Not a Girl, Not Yet a Woman, which also won a Razzie in
Which is
2002.
what a classic song, man.
Worst song.
Seriously.
Yeah, but poor Britney, hashtag free Britney.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later, actually.
Anyway, you can't please everyone with songs, but there's a good reason, I guess, why the category was retired. In 1999, they brought it back briefly in 2002. Then there's no more such category for the Razzies anymore. All right, now if you're enjoying this episode of your favorite pop culture podcast, don't forget to find us on our podcast channel. You can find us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Some of our episodes are also on YouTube, so don't forget to check those out too. All you have to do is to search for hashtag #PopVultures. Tell all of your friends about us, like us, rate us, and subscribe. All right, now back to our show.
Okay, so back to talking about the Razzies. Now we're going into the nominees this year. I think the one that everyone saw coming was the film Music by Sia.
Oh, wrong music.
Not wrong, not that one. It's the film Music
Madonna.
by Sia.
That one.
Yes, this is the movie that got a lot of bad press even before it was released because it basically featured Maddie Ziegler. So, like in that chandelier video, the dancer in that video is Maddie Ziegler, right? So from then on, she sort of became Sia's muse, and she has appeared in a lot of Sia's projects.
Yep.
It's about a girl who's autistic. So they got Maddie Ziegler, who doesn't actually have autism, to play this role. So people were already like, hey, why don't you find somebody who actually has experience with this sort of condition, right? And then Sia tried to like reach out to the autistic. I cannot remember what the foundation was, but she reached out to this foundation that has actually been criticized by a lot of autistic people, that it's like a lot of its ideas are not in line with what autistic people feel are the most beneficial to them, and they feel that it's a bit harmful. So it's already been criticized a lot. It's been panned by critics. Like, critics actually say like they feel angry that they have been made to watch this movie. Right? They were made to give this movie a review.
And there are a lot of like bright flashes and colors throughout the film, which are very unfriendly to autistic people because a lot of them have epilepsy. Sia got very defensive apparently, and like anyway, she's been somewhat cancelled
over this film.
And I guess that's why it got 4 Razzie nominations, including Worst Picture / Director.
As well as acting nods for Maddie Ziegler and Kate Hudson, who is also in the film.
Yeah, because guilty by association.
Yeah, Kate Hudson was also nominated for a Golden Globe for this exact film, but okay.
Oh, she was?
She was, yeah.
Did she win?
No, she didn't.
Oh.
I don't think any award show dare to give anything to music.
The music lah.
Yeah. And then Glenn Close.
Right, for Hillbilly Elegy.
Yes.
She's up for Worst Supporting Actress, but get this, she's also nominated for an Oscar for the very same role.
For Best Supporting Actress, yes.
What's up with that, Jen?
Exactly. But I think it's like people see Glenn Close and they nominate. It's like Meryl Streep sneezes and she gets like an Oscar. Like,
Right.
It's like in that same vein, but
Correct.
a lot of critics have hated on Hillbilly Elegy.
But Glenn Close doesn't have an Oscar yet.
She doesn't, exactly.
So I really hope she gets
But
an Oscar.
she's been nominated a lot. That's the thing.
Yeah, I know. She's like one of those, like, it's so elusive, you know, like Leo DiCaprio.
Yeah. Or like Amy Adams. Amy Adams, by the way, also in Hillbilly Elegy.
Right. She doesn't have an Oscar?
She doesn't have an Oscar.
Oh my
Nominated
goodness.
a lot of times, no Oscars. Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Well, someone who's no stranger to Oscars, Anne Hathaway is also up for a Worst Actress Razzie for 2 films. Roald Dahl's The Witches and The Last Thing He Wanted, which apparently was a Netflix flop.
Is it? I've never heard about it.
Exactly, hence flop. But can we talk about how poor thing Anne Hathaway is, I feel? Because she gets
Cannot catch a break.
Yeah, she can't catch a break. Like, you know, she acts in something, then people say that, you know, she deserves a Razzie. She does a really good job, she gets an Oscar, and people are like, oh, she's too cocky, she's
like
in love
wants
with
it too
herself.
much, right?
Yeah.
She wants it too much. She's too obvious with her desires, so she got like hated a bit. Like, I have to say, I was jumping on the Anne Hathaway hate train for a little bit there, but you know, I mean, it's like now I'm over it lah. Honestly, I just feel like she wants an Oscar is not that big of a deal.
Life has dealt her some really rough patches, like having to host the Academy Awards with James Franco.
It's really like a one-man show, and James Franco was just like drunk the whole time.
Drunk or high, we'll never know.
Probably both.
So after talking so much about the Razzies, I want to ask you one question, Jen. Do you feel like the Razzies even matter? Like, you know, and like what place do the Razzies have in this world? Like, you know, when you have all these other proper awards, like why should we care about the Razzies?
I mean, like, I guess can be fun. Like, it can be fun to, because, you know, ultimately award shows are a bit egoistical. Like, it's always about celebrating yourselves, you know. It's like Hollywood celebrating themselves. So it can be fun to have a place where people are like, just knocking down these celebrities a peg, you know, knocking down these people who work in this extremely glossy, extremely self-centered industry a peg. You know, and just be like, yo, that was a bad film you did, or that was a bad performance you put up. And if you can take a joke, I guess it's fine. But the thing is, like, at least for me, over the years, it just seems like the Razzies have gotten a bit mean-spirited.
How so?
And I mean, like,
isn't it all in good fun?
I feel that it can skew a bit misogynistic sometimes.
Oh.
There's like a trend, I think, of nominating actresses who are doing their best in bad films. Like,
I see what you mean.
yeah, or like nominating actresses because maybe you don't like the style of their performance, but like those performances may have gone on to have great acclaim, like Shelley Duvall in The Shining, which went on to become like a classic performance, right?
Right.
Then,
The Shining was actually nominated for Worst Picture in the first ever Razzies.
but it's like one of those classic horror movies now. And then, you know, things like nominating Dakota Johnson for 50 Shades, for example, because 50 Shades is the kind of movie that people love to hate, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, based on like erotic novel written by a woman, that kind. And okay, genuinely 50 Shades is not a good book and probably not a great movie. But like, I've watched that movie. Dakota Johnson is the least disagreeable thing about that movie. If anything, I would say the guy who acts as, what's his name? I can't remember his name. The guy who acts as Mr. Grey is worse. But like, but somehow, you know, Dakota Johnson gets the hate lah. And then even just things like the very first worst actress in the Razzie was Brooke Shields for Blue Lagoon, which, like, I've watched that movie. It is disturbing because Brooke Shields is a teenager and she is so sexualized in that movie. So, like, you know, instead of focusing on the fact that this is a teenage girl being given a part that is ultra sexualized to do, and this sexualization has followed Brooke Shields all her life, right? I think it's clearly affected her in some ways because later on she went on to do that Calvin Klein jeans ad, and it was just like, so it's like instead of focusing on the bigger issue at hand, which is like this woman has clearly been given a role that is extremely inappropriate, and this industry has like chewed her up. But they just sort of pile on the hate, you know. So I feel like there's a bit of a, and then also nominating Britney Spears for Fahrenheit 9/11, which is a documentary.
As herself.
Yes, as herself. She was in it for 15 seconds and she got a Razzie.
Right.
And that period of time, it was like early 2004, 2005. It was that period of time where Britney was going through a really, really difficult time, going through like a mental breakdown, and people were just jumping on the train to hate on her, right? So to me, sometimes it can feel like piling on.
Right, it's almost like they were adding salt to the wound deliberately, and they were doing it as a publicity stunt.
Like, wow, see, everybody hates Britney now, let's go hate on her.
Right.
Also, to me, okay, so the thing is with the Razzies, right? If you pay money, you can vote. You can pay money to become a member and vote in it. So anybody can do it. So it's like, sure, you can say it democratizes the process. So like everybody has a chance to vote for it, for the Razzies. But at the same time, it's like it does take away any element that there might be some level of professional criticism of these people's works, right?
Right. But I think that's the whole point of the Razzies. It's not supposed to be professional. Like, you know, John Wilson himself has said many times, he's given many interviews about the Razzies, and he said that it's for the average moviegoer, like, you know, and it's not supposed to be taken so seriously. Is the whole point is, you know, the fact that the Academy Awards is like a balloon and the Razzies is like the head pin to that balloon. They're purposely there to stir up the pot and to burst the bubble, like, you know, is to serve as that counterpoint, that reality check to, you're right, that glossy industry that, oh, we're all perfect and everything. Like, you know, yes, look at us with our plastic surgery. And you know, Oscar campaigns and wonderful gowns.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I get what you're saying.
But I will say, I think I would personally argue that the Razzies, I mean, definitely has its problems with misogyny and everything through the years. But I would argue that it still has a place. I like that it reminds us how subjective art and film in general can be, you know? Like, people can be nominated for an Oscar and a Razzie at the same time.
For
like
the same
Glenn
role.
Close.
Yeah,
like, I mean, I always think back to Meryl Streep in The Iron Lady, unpopular opinion coming up.
Yeah.
But I don't think she should have won an Oscar for that.
I don't think that's unpopular. I think a lot of people don't think she should have won an Oscar.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
well...
It's not one of the better
Well,
performances.
why were all of you clapping back then? Hello? Sycophants.
TBH is not her best performance.
It wasn't, yeah, definitely wasn't deserving. And like, you know, she crowded out a lot of the other very deserving nominees that year, unfortunately. I don't think it's her fault, but I do think that there's something to be said about herd mentality sometimes. You know, when people just go up, oh, this film critic and that film critic
And like,
gives it
oh,
5
it's
stars.
Meryl Streep, let's give her an Oscar.
Exactly, she needs a nomination, you know. So I personally feel, okay, the Razzies may not be the most accurate and spot on the entire time. Like, you know, some critics have called it like lazily inaccurate, dim-witted, it's too obvious, like, you know, and they've made a lot of misjudgments through the years. Like, we talked about The Shining and we talked about Dakota Johnson. Just because 50 Shades was
hated as a movie.
A deplorable project doesn't mean that Dakota did a bad job in that film.
She was actually quite charming in it, to be honest.
So what if you did the best you could with a terrible project?
Exactly.
Like, should you be punished for it? No, right? So yeah, I feel like the Razzies, I don't know, we shouldn't be taking it so seriously anyway. Just don't forget it's a parody, but use it also as an opportunity to question our own biases and our own assumptions. Like, should Meryl Streep get nominated so many times? Or just because you have won an Oscar before, like Halle Berry, does it mean, you know, you're going to be perfect in Catwoman? No. So I like it that it's a timely reminder to kind of like check ourselves. And some box office flops, on the flip side, have gone on to be such cult classics.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, we talked about Mariah's Glitter earlier.
Yes.
It's obviously not the best film out there, but #Justice for Glitter.
They have...
In Mariah's fandom, if you actually rewatch it, there are some little gems, like, you know, that pepper that movie, and it brought us some really great music. So at the end of the day, it's a musical film.
Like The Shining, for example, you know?
Yeah. Exactly. And Joel Schumacher's Batman and Robin back in the day also got a Razzie. I personally feel like it was
a great superhero film.
I wouldn't say it was great. It was very campy and everything, but because it was so campy, like Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy, you know, that costume and the aesthetic of that era has come back in different forms. And like, you know, we learn to appreciate the fashion, for instance. We learn to appreciate the very cheesy lines, which have gone on to become memes. So I don't know. I feel like when it comes to film, it's just so subjective that, who are we to say that no, this is a good film, or no, this is a bad film.
So, having said all of that,
Yeah.
who would you give a Razzie to if you could?
Yeah, because this is Pop Vultures, right?
Yeah, we cover everything, right? Don't need Hollywood. Don't need Hollywood one. It can be Asian, can be local.
Yeah, okay, we can give golden raspberries, we can give golden wolfberries.
Yes.
Like, okay, can I, of all time or just last year?
Why don't we start with of all time?
Yeah, of all time, because I can't say I watched a lot of movies in the past year. I've been so busy. But of all time, can it be extended to television, Jen?
Yes, sure. Let's just give to whoever we want.
Okay, the Pop Vultures Golden Wolfberries Award
Goes to...
can I say Jeanette Au? I'm sorry, but not sorry at the same time, because can we talk about how when she first made her debut, or like one of her earlier shows was in Holland
Mo
Village.
Jing. Yes.
As Mo Jing Jing, and she
The
played,
dim-witted sister.
Dim-witted sister. And everyone was like, oh, that's really impressive. Like, she's really convincing in the role.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, wow, she's the one to watch. Like, she's one of the 7 princesses and everything. And then she acted in another film. And of course, The Little Nyonya, which is super famous.
She has a lot of projects.
And then we were like, she is still playing her Holland V character in the way she speaks. She's like, 娘娘，我是我娘娘生的，我当然生的. Like, there's something very strange about her speech.
I get what you're saying, yes.
Yeah, but Jeanette Au fans, please don't come for me. I'm not saying that she's terrible or whatever, but I do think that in her journey as an actress, I would have liked to see more growth, in her journey as an actress. And this is coming from a very, average TV viewer point of view. You may disagree with me, but Jen, what do you think?
I mean, she has had a lot of criticisms over the years, so I'm not surprised that you bring her up.
Yeah, I think she deserves at least 1 or 2 Razzies / Wolfberries. What about you, Jen? Who would you give a Razzie / Wolfberry to?
Okay, honestly, man, I'm gonna get so much hate for this. I don't get the love for Lee Min Ho. I don't get it.
Lee Min Ho?
Look,
Lee Min Ho of At a Cutter Now fame?
Yes. He's cute. He's really good looking. I get it. He's really good looking. He was in a bunch of stuff and he's good. But he to me, I never find him compelling on screen. And it might just be to me because clearly he has a lot of fans. So it might just be to me. But I never find him compelling on screen. I always find it a bit generic. I always find it like he's playing a good looking something, Like a good-looking prince or a good-looking cop or a good-looking, somebody right? Like a good-looking high school boy.
Right.
Or a good-looking rich person. It's just maybe his looks. It might be that his looks have somewhat stereotyped him or his roles. And I just never feel challenged by his roles or his performance,
Right.
which... Man, I'm gonna get so much hate for saying this, but I said what I said, man. I don't love it. I don't love him.
It's okay. You get cancelled by Lee Min Ho fans. I get cancelled by Jeanette's fans.
Yeah,
but I agree with what you said about very attractive actors being boxed into attractive roles, which is why I appreciate that Leonardo DiCaprio, even though he's so handsome and everything, he hasn't shied away from uglifying himself.
Okay, you are just trying to bait me into saying this.
Yes,
Look, I always tell you, I really, really did not like Leonardo DiCaprio in The Revenant. I also did not like The Revenant as a film. Look, it's technically really great and technically all brilliant and stuff. It was filmed with natural light. I get it, but I walked out of that movie and I was just this is painful. Okay, why? It was so blatant, I won an Oscar, so now I'm gonna get mauled by a bear, and then I'm gonna be miserable, and my son dies, I'm gonna climb out a mountain with blood spilling out of me, I'm gonna get into a horse that is dead for warmth. And I was just dude, Leo, calm down. Fine, we'll give you the Oscar. And he did get it. And I'm just it was such a painful performance to watch. It was so self-flagellating. It was so let me torture myself so I would get an award. It's not that he's a bad actor. I just really did not like him in The Revenant.
Wait, so I don't get it. Do you not like the film?
I also
Say that
did not.
again.
I also did not like the film. Okay, I also did not like the film. It was everything. It was just like, oh my god. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna have to agree to disagree there because I thought he did a fantastic job, and Leo is one of those people, where the Oscar was always eluding him up to that point, and I thought that was very well deserved.
He should have won it for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. but
Sure,
okay.
but I do feel like his whole body of work speaks for itself, and I don't.
He's
think,
not a bad actor. He's not.
I thought he was quite phenomenal in The Revenant, so I would have to disagree with you there. I think maybe the aircon in the cinema wasn't cold enough for you that night. Maybe that's why you couldn't empathize.
No, it was very cold. I am cold
you.
all the time.
And I'm hot. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed this episode on the Razzies. We just thought we'd give you an alternative spin on award season since we've talked about Oscars and Star Awards before. Let's talk about the Razzies, okay? Tell us what you think. Do you think some people shouldn't have gotten Razzies? Who would you give a Razzie to? Do you agree with Jen's picks and my picks? Let us know. Feel free to write to us at podcast@sph.com.sg or yosemjo@sph.com.sg.
You can reach me at jenlee@sph.com.sg, or you can slide into my DMs at jenleewrites on Instagram.
Till next time, she's Jen,
He's Sam Joe.
and we are
Pop Vultures. Thank you for listening.
That was an SPH podcast by The Straits Times. Find us on Spotify, Apple or Google Podcasts, or streaming on Google Home. Do feedback to us at podcast@sph.com.sg. You can also check out more podcasts on various topics at The Straits Times, The Business Times, and Money FM 89.3.